Hello everyone, this is Christy from MyScrapbookEvolution.com. Today I'm sharing with you a layout that I created for the Layout a Week Challenge blog. It features the color green because this is a St. Patrick's Day layout, and you could say this is a monochromatic layout, meaning that it uses primarily all one color. Now when you're working with a monochromatic layout, not everything has to be that specific color. You'll notice that I've used some gold accents here, and I also have white. It's okay to use something neutral in your page, but you primarily want to focus on one color. And the great thing about this type of layout is that it's very easy to find supplies from your stash. Essentially, you pull anything for the color that you want to work with. In this case, I pulled everything that was green or close to green. This piece of lace kind of fudges a little bit on the color green. It's not a true green, it's more gray based. But when I hold it up against the green cardstock, it takes on the color of the cardstock underneath, and it gives me that mossy gray tone that I wanted for the page. So when you're choosing your supplies, you're going to want to think about pattern, contrast, and texture. So you'll notice that I have a few different tones of color, and those provide some of the contrast. I've got the darker green here, I've got a more Kelly green in some of the pages here, I've got kind of an olive green here, a neon green, a metallic green. You want that contrast, and this becomes very important when you're talking about building the layout up and making sure you focus on your photos. So in this case, what I've done is to matte the photos. I've matted them in white, but I've also matted the photos and some of these pattern paper blocks onto a darker green cardstock. It's a slightly darker shade than what the canvas is, and it's also textured, whereas the cardstock I used for the canvas is smooth. This will help you to be able to see your photos a little bit better, but if you want to pull even more focus onto the photos or onto one specific photo, you can create a visual triangle. And in this case, I've used the doilies to do that, 3 doilies. Texture becomes important because it adds a bit of feeling to the layout. So I have this warm kind of fuzzy felt. I have the smooth, shiny shamrock here, and then I have the lace, and the lace kind of softens it up. The felt gives it a bit of warmth, and that glossy texture gives it a bit of excitement. And of course, when you're working with these different patterns, it can be very easy for them to become muddy. I kind of layered things up, and sometimes the matte is enough to keep the contrast, but in this case I felt everything was becoming too jumbled. So initially my design was kind of in the center here where my hands are, and then I've spread it out, and I've made a loose grid. There's just a little bit of space between each block. So everything's still sort of together, but it's slightly separate, which allows me to see each piece. It just sort of helps everything hold its own place when you're using so much color. And of course, you don't have to use a solid color background like I did. You could use a neutral like a white or a black, or even craft paper, and that can kind of help you keep your pieces from all becoming lost together in one muddy mess of whatever color you're using for your monochromatic layout. You can see this layout on the Layout a Week blogspot. I'll link to it in the video notes below. And you can also find more information and inspiration at MyScrapbookEvolution.com.